Tell me a little bit about your background and your goals. Holden, we'll start with you.
Okay. First off, my name's Holden McGill. I'm a Greenville native. I've been in the area since I was born. Um, Basing the club I'm doing out of Easley, South Carolina, and I just feel like that's an area that's it needed some more growth. Um, but biggest thing with the goals and just over the years of my years of playing the sport, which is when I started about around age 8. Um, and at that time, there was no boys. So playing through Club South in Greenville is where I started, just kind of showing up to a few things here and there, and kind of just really enjoying it. But there wasn't much opportunities up until I went to North Greenville University, and that's where I ended up playing as a student assistant slash trying to play what was way behind of where most of the kids who were 18, 19 at the time. Um, After that, I left and I decided that there's a void for especially boys volleyball, and I know that things now are different than they were then, and so that's really my main goal is to create more boys opportunities, but at the same time having girls opportunities. And my biggest things is our goals. And really that first thing is to win, and that's excellence in sports. The next thing from there is just what I mentioned to when I do coach is just when you do something, do it right the first time. And that's how I train in volleyball is, hey, the ball comes to you, the first touch, making a perfect contact. Simple as that. Um, Next thing is just attitude. How do you hold yourself on and off the court? And I mentioned this to especially older girls that I've coached is just, hey, college coaches, if you want to go that route, are watching your attitude, not your skill, because they can train you however they want to. It's your attitude. Next thing is just fundamentals. I just feel like over the last several years, I've seen a lot of fundamentally not sound athletes, and that's mainly where I'm wanting to come in and really just focus on fundamentals, and really hit the ground running with that uh, mindset. And then really our last goal is just enjoyment of the sport and exposure. That's the biggest thing with the sport is just exposure. So those are really our goals of how we're gonna, you know, do things.
Great. Vanessa, how about you?
Yes, my name is Vanessa. I'm here in Gaffney, South Carolina. I'm a fifth year senior here at Limestone University. I've played here for 3 years and I've played at Newberry College for 2 years. I'm graduating in 2 weeks. I've had a program for the last 2 years here that has not had club teams, and now I've gotten to the point of about 300 athletes. So now I kind of need to do that.
Wow.
So that's kind of what I've decided to do for myself as I've graduated. It's a big role that I've taken on, and I'm relatively young, but if anything, that kind of makes me bond better with the athletes and at a much quicker rate than what most coaches would expect. We just actually just hosted a tournament on Saturday, 2 days ago, and it was a huge success. We had 8 teams in the tournament. Just wish we had bigger facilities. It was an in-house tournament, just kind of for fun type thing. And that's really my goal, is to be able to provide a more affordable environment for these kids here to be able to play volleyball. There's nothing really around here aside from my program for these kids to get to even have that chance to play. If they're not competing in schools and they're not traveling to either Charlotte or Spartanburg, there's nothing here. So it's just an opportunity for these kids to be able to compete, be able to showcase their skills. There's some that are older and relatively close to my age that are getting to that recruiting level that want to take that next step. Being a transfer and being somebody who's been in the college arena for about 5 years, I've seen different coaching styles. I've seen what coaches look for. And I do agree with that previous statement. You know, attitude is something that you can't coach. That's something that coaches immediately look at and is a huge turnoff, because they're not going to recruit you if you're a terrible person. So being able to kind of share that insight with some of these younger players has been extremely useful and productive for them, because we've also seen some character development. But yeah, that's my goal, is to kind of keep doing what I'm doing. I don't have club teams. I kind of need to learn how to do that.
Well, great. Tell me just a quick 15 seconds of where you got 300 kids from and what you're doing. I'm assuming it's just in-house stuff.
Yes, it's just in-house. I'm in the Cherokee County Family YMCA. We
Yeah.
fundraised about a year ago for a second court installation, so I'm doing everything in here off of 2 courts. But
Okay.
I have this radius from about here to a little outside Spartanburg, Shelby, Cowpens, Blacksburg, like this circle around Gaffney, because there's nothing around here.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Mr. Brandon, your group.
Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Brandon. I'm one of the executive directors here for Augusta Juniors Volleyball. We've got our other executive director here, Ross Haskins. I've been playing volleyball for probably about 17 years. I have competed in different organizations from NAGVA to USAV to AVP, as well as local tournaments. I play all 3 styles of volleyball: beach, grass, and indoor volleyball. We both currently coach for one of the high school teams here in our local market here in Augusta. Ross over here, he played collegiately for Texas A&M University for a few years. He's also competed in NAGVA, USAV, AVP, all of the above. Some goals for our club and our organization is really just more opportunities for the girls in our area. We're in Augusta, Georgia, and we have one other club here, which houses a lot of girls, and they're able to reach a lot of different players, but they're the kind of the only one in the area before you get to Aiken, South Carolina, which is 40 minutes depending on where you're going, and then Columbia. So we have a lot of people who may not make other club teams, and then they have to travel a long way to go and play for a club team. So our goal is really just to provide these girls with another option, another opportunity to get involved, and really just to grow the sport of volleyball. We're very passionate about volleyball. We watch all the NCAA women's college volleyball. We watch, we study the game, we analyze the game, and we find out different ways of how we can incorporate that and just grow the sport of volleyball as a whole. One of our other big goals is to really just grow and develop athletes, starting at a young age, and really just grow these girls to be able to go and play in college and get that experience of what it's like to get to the next level. And so that's kind of why we decided that we wanted to start our own club, and we're doing clinics and stuff like that, and we're getting a really good turnout here from our local market, and so we're really excited for that and for what's to come.
Okay. On with us is Julie McMahon down here. I'm sure y'all can see her. She is our club representative staff who really kind of holds your hand through the first couple years, answers questions for you, along with myself. But she also runs a club in Greenwood, South Carolina. And then our CEO for the board, Sue Dillon out of Columbia, that runs Lake Murray. Had a brain lapse. She'll be on here in a minute. And I wanted them.
Lake Murray is her club.
Yes.
Lake Murray.
Lake Murray, yes. Just quickly, I'll let Julie say a few things about herself. I'll tell you, mine is I've been in this, gosh, I think it's close to 35 years. When I started, I ran a club, Club South. We started, and there was only 4 clubs in the state that we ran. And I had never had any intentions. At the time, I had 3 daughters, and I had no intentions of running another business for any purposes. But myself and the Clemson assistant started a club, 2 teams, years and years and years ago. My daughter was on one of them at the time. She was 6th grade, I think. She was 6'3" in the 6th grade. So we had to she had a low self-esteem, so I'd get her into something, and she ended up doing very well. But anyway, we started, and so I was just a dad, like teaching t-ball. We had 2 teams, and from there, over the next 20 years, we grew every year. She went away, I don't know, in year 3 or 4, something like that. We continued to grow. Club South grew to about 800 kids by the time I sold it, with 50 coaches on staff in 3 facilities. So it became another full-time job. And you guys may or may not know, Upward Sports bought me. That was the time they wanted to get into the competitive volleyball business, and I was ready to get out of the parent business. So it worked well for me, and I've been commissioner or CEO for years and years. So I enjoy helping you guys that start and see you grow and be a success. Julie, you want to give a little bio, what you are and what you background?
Sure. I have been a coach for well more than half of my life at this point. It's almost 25 years. It seems strange, but originally from Daytona Beach, Florida. I grew up playing beach volleyball. I didn't even know it was an indoor option until I was almost in high school, and played club there. Went to Valdosta State University and played 4 years there. I started coaching while I was in college and went to Athens, coached for Georgia Juniors, went to Savannah, coached with Savannah Juniors, or Club Savannah, sorry. And then came up to this neck of the woods, coached with Magnum, and then started my own club, Emerald City Juniors, here in Greenwood. In addition to that, I've been a high school and middle school coach. I've been a collegiate assistant in several colleges. Let's see, G Vegas grass volleyball, their juniors outdoor director, or juniors tournament director, or at least I was. I kind of set back this year because I just got rehired at Greenwood High like a couple days ago to go. I took some time off to be with my youngest at home. So lots of fun. We've been doing the high performance with Jimmy. And I like to grow the game. I know I think it was Brandon was saying, you just want to grow players, grow athletes, grow the game, share the sport that you love. And that's always been my goal, which is why I think I do well helping out the new clubs, because we all have the same goal in mind, is to, start from nothing and see it flourish, and be able to give opportunities that people may not have had previously. I know when I came to Greenwood, there wasn't a club here. And so I started one because it needed it. And now we've got, I think, 3 clubs in the area because it's such a thriving community of volleyball. So I will be here, as Jimmy said, to help you guys with whatever questions you have. Make me your point person. I can either answer a question or find an answer to a question. And you're going to have a lot of them. I know you will. And I will send out information as we get closer to the season. This is what you could and should be doing right now. Hi, Sue. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I want you to ask questions because I would much rather you ask questions than flounder through and struggle and have a headache. When just keep in mind, I'm also a teacher. So if I don't respond during the day, during the school year, that's why. But I will get back to you ASAP. And I can even give you guys my cell phone number once we get closer to season, because I actually can answer text messages easier than emails sometimes. In fact, I broke into a class one time. I said, you know what, guys, you keep doing your work. I got to take care of this. And I called a new club director this past year and helped him solve a computer problem. And my kids were like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's just job number 3. Don't worry about it. Like, I've got it. So anyway, I'll stop talking now, but thanks.
All right. Thanks. And then joining us just now is Sue Dillon. Sue's our CEO, president. Excuse me, our president for our board. I'm the CEO. Forgot that. Not right, Sue.
That's you.
She's been around the
Sorry, I'm
block.
late.
Yeah, she's been around a long time. She runs Lake Murray. I think they do a tremendous job down there. And Columbia's got, I think, a club on every corner down there. So I asked Sue and Julie to join us to answer some questions. My objective really tonight is kind of keep it short, but hopefully answer some of your questions and give you some ideas that might help, that you might want to consider. As I said earlier, I ran a club for 20-something years, grew it tremendously. I gave you some suggestions of what I did. I thought that grew the club and made it a success at the time. And then my intentions actually this year is we're going to start some short video clips from club directors on different perspectives of clubs. You know, what do you do for this? How do you do that? How's your business run? Are you profit or nonprofit? How do you get coaches? How do you get facilities? Blah, blah, blah. And let different club directors answer that. And I can tell you this is that when I go from a region standpoint, and which I'm leaving in a few weeks, go to national meetings with the other 40-something regions in the United States, I don't get a whole lot out of the meetings. I get a whole lot out of breakfast, lunches, and suppers with other region directors and say, tell me what you're doing that's working, you know? So that's where it is. I know you've got goals, and to run a club is not that complicated, but there are a lot of things that you're going to think, wow, there's a lot involved in this. We have a tremendous staff. Sue, for example, is over our outdoor. Julie pretty much is my administrative assistant and handles a lot of the club questions. I'm here at any time. Just don't text me after about 9 o'clock at night. My wife gets pretty perturbed. You got to have some kind of private life. And so, you know, do that. What I would encourage you to do to start with is we have a historical director's newsletter called the Director's Desk. And that, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we keep it archived on the website. So they should be up to date.
We do, but I'm going to send all of them the login information to get on the director's pages because it's password protected, so the general public can't see it.
So that you, and when you can't sleep at night, go back and kind of read some of that stuff over the season, and you will learn a lot, because it basically is a to-do book for directors as we go through the season. Here's what you ought to be looking at and what you need to be doing the next 3 or 4 weeks. Here's what's going on. Here's the issues and stuff like that. So you'll learn a lot from that. And then you'll be put on that list so that we kind of remind you, here's what's coming up and here's things you got to do and what you need to do. Now, what's changed, and you guys may know this, is Sue, was it last year that we changed to summer tryouts?
Yeah, that was the first year that anybody actually did them. And this year
Okay.
there'll be,
So
including me.
yeah, so I don't know the percentage wise, but we've got a percentage of clubs that do tryouts starting in July forward. So we, in the last, as long as I've been a commissioner up until last year, we had tryouts in the fall, and it was pretty much mandated that you couldn't start before a certain date and you had to end before a certain, well, it really didn't end because you could start anytime after that, but you couldn't start before a certain date. For numerous reasons, we had to go to that. And one, we wanted to get out of the tryout business or the policing business of clubs. You are a business, and barring you do something illegal, sexual abuse, abusing money, lying, fraud with parents, something like that, we try to stay out of the club business other than saying, here's the things that you need to be doing unless there's problems. So after, I think nationals are over the first week in July, so you can start anytime after that. And you'll start to figure out that clubs in your area will do that. And it gets competitive. If there's a stressful part of the season, I would say tryouts is the top stress Right, guys? Yes,
Amen.
yeah. So,
I would
Uh,
strongly suggest trying to find out who in your area is going to do summer tryouts. And try to coordinate with them, because there's really, no matter what you do, somebody's going to do something you don't like. And basically what I've learned in all the years I've done it is that you just got to find whatever you stand for and however you want to run your club, and just stick with that. And don't try to run down any other clubs. Just go with you, tell them what you offer. That's what we do. We just tell them what we offer. There's no sense talking down any other club. And we weren't going to do summer tryouts. And then the reason that we're doing them is mainly because in our area, the other clubs hound the girls during the school season. And if you do the summer tryouts, you can be done. They can commit, and then we don't meet again till November, but they're committed, and then nobody can mess with them. I mean, if they can look right at them and say, I've already committed to Lake Murray. So it's just been, for us, it'll be an advantage. It's going to be hard. This is our first year doing it. And then we're opening up a makeup tryout in the fall. We're kind of experimenting with it. And eventually, like Jimmy, I don't know if Jimmy said, I think everyone's going to go to this, because mainly it's for the logistics. The big tournaments open all their information now, the end of September or October 1st. And we haven't even thought about it. That's, our tryouts are the second week of November normally for the older ages. And you have to guess what kind of teams you're going to have, guess what division they want to be in. And this is why so many people have moved to summer tryouts. It's
And
kind of a
pay.
wave of what's happening.
and pay for them. So it is something that if you haven't considered it already, consider it.
Definitely don't have
Well,
to.
And
Yeah,
not
you'll-
only that, not only the tournament part of it, but also for families that may be a little bit more strained financially, you can do a payment plan that divides it up over more months. Even though they won't be getting a service necessarily from the tryouts until like November, you can still help them financially. And because of COVID, jerseys and gear have been really, really hard to come by in a timely manner. And so that would alleviate the concern of, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get my jerseys on time. Having that makeup tryout, you may still have a few like stragglers, but for the most part, you'll have the bulk of your jerseys and your gear and other things in, or at least ordered, so that you can get them in time for those first tournaments.
Yeah, your jerseys are still sitting off the California coast.
I did want to also say that for the most part, as far as I know, this is only for 15 to 18. 12 to 14 still goes the third week of October. That hasn't changed. It's just for 15 to 18, the older age groups, because they're basically trying to keep people out of the high school season. This way you get it done and they can enjoy their school season with no interruptions. That's the main reason,
But
as far as I
but
understand.
we do not have a restriction if you want to do young ages. There's not one. And you may find some clubs that are doing young ages and the young ones. So you got to understand that that is a competitive edge. If somebody else has a tryout 2 months or a month or 2 weeks before you, they may sign or agree. And I'm going to say, Julie and Sue may disagree, but I'm going to say it is similar to making a commitment for college, a verbal commitment. You can get out of it, but it's not the right thing to do, but we have no control on it, where we used to have control of saying, once you sign, you're done, you're in the season. The only thing that we do now is if they sign, from a moral standpoint, we ask them if they want to change clubs to get a release. Now, here's the reality. If Sue Smith signs with you and you start collecting payments in August, so you got August, September, October, maybe even November, and then she decides to go to ABC Club that's having tryouts in November, you've got 4 months of payments that she's going to have to ask, can I get those payments back? And some clubs can say no. Now, for me personally, is you're going to have that happen. There's no doubt about it. You're going to have it happen if you do an early tryout or a late tryout. You're going to have somebody say, I want to go to somewhere else because Sue's best friend is signing with ABC Juniors. And I've always taken the point is if they're not going to be happy with you, what good is it? For the long run, let a kid go. It'll all work out in the end. But I do agree with Julie is the summer tryouts give an advantage because there's one key point, and understand this, and that is having enough money to pay for stuff in the front end, because a lot of your expenses are going out in that first 30 to 45 days. Uniforms, tournament expense, coaches, all that stuff. Okay. So that helps you get some more money. When we had tryouts in October and November years ago, we would get about 25%, 30% of a deposit down, and then started a payment plan early. So we'd have enough money to operate on to enter, buy the uniforms, get the coaches' uniforms, buy balls, carts, anything that we needed, enter the tournaments, all that stuff, and not be strapped. Because what you don't want to happen this year, we had a 30% increase in tournament registration, unheard of. Typically it's in the 8 to 10, 12% range. So a lot of clubs that didn't pay didn't get in, and payment is what secures your tournament registration pretty much with any tournament, not only in our region, but out of region too, or other organizations. So you can register, but that's not going to help you. Payment's the one that makes the difference. So keep that in mind, is that's a key part. In my opinion, the things that you've got to make sure you have in control is, one, a facility. Got to have a facility, and you've got to have one that you can get into on a basis to where you're not going to be called 10 minutes before a practice and an AD or preacher tells you, sorry, you can't come in here. Because that not only upsets you, but it upsets parents if something's canceled at the last minute. So try to get something that's pretty consistent. The second thing is quality coaching. That's important. If you can get people that are experienced and have a good personality. I'm going to tell you this, I don't know how Julie and Sue feel about it, but I had always I looked at personality and experience and knowledge. I did not want them coaching like, I hate to say this, but like a college coach where they have scholarship players. So they can yell at them, they can be mean to them, they don't have to play them. I've always tried to explain club is you pay to play. Now, you may have a different opinion, but I can tell you it'll bite you in the rear end if you got people on your bench and they don't get to play, but they're paying the same thing as everybody else. So try to find a way to, get those kids involved. You'll have a happy team, you'll have a happy parents, and you'll have people return.
Yeah, if I can intervene, one thing that we encourage our clubs to do is have a player-parent contract. And when it gets closer to time, I'll send you a sample of that just so you can see it. But one thing that is in there is playing time defined. Like what kind of playing time are you going to offer? For me personally, my club level teams are guaranteed playing time. It's not equal, but it's fair. For power teams or teams playing in power tournaments, it's not guaranteed. But at the same time, like Jimmy said, you have a happier, better team if people get on the court. It doesn't do them any good to sit on the bench and not get that experience. And if you're going to put them on a power team, it shouldn't just be to take their money. I had somebody say that they were on a team somewhere, not with me, but they were on one of the light bill teams. And I was like, what's that mean? And they said that we're the team that helps pay the light bill for the club. And I was like, oh God, like that's terrible. But I mean, that is the mentality. So anyway, yeah.
Well, so I'm gonna tell you the things that just give consideration to. Again, coaching, facility, and then just organization and communication. I can't tell you the number of emails and texts and calls I get from parents that said, I never hear from the director. We don't get any information. We know at the last minute where we're going to. We don't get directions. So a good communication policy. One thing, if you want to take the idea on what Julie and Sue does, but when I was running one, I would budget my money on a team and if we had 10 players on a team, I try to keep it between 9 and 10. You get over 10, it's hard to get playing time. But I would budget it on about 10 and a half, and I'd give one parent a half a scholarship, but the rest of the team paid for it. Now, they didn't know that, but that's the way it was done. And that parent would be responsible for doing a lot of things. Communication, they'd have to copy me. They'd have to do so much stuff during the year, help with hotels. You're actually paying to do work, and you've got administrative assistant per team, as long as they do it. You know, I've had to be a Trump and fire somebody on a team and replace them with somebody else, but it worked out great. Is that you had it funded and you had people that was in there that could help you do some administration. So I've seen clubs, and I don't know how many, Sue, well, we got 60 or 70 clubs. I've seen some that are just horrible on administration, and they don't grow. They just don't grow. Or they get people 1 year and they're out the door. Sue, or did you have anything?
I was just going to share something that's worked extremely well for us is we have a board. We have a 4-person board, and each of us has a different section of things to take care of. Like I do overall communication, tryouts, all that kind of stuff as director, and I kind of oversee everybody else. We have a financial director, obviously does our finances. We have an operations director. She's in charge of all our social events, social media, stuff like that. And then we have the assistant director who does USAV registrations and all our hotel stuff. And then I also do the officiating clinics. But what it does, since there's so much, especially between November and January, it just gets slammed. If you have each person have their own thing to take care of, it is so much easier. It is so hard as a director to do everything you have to do between November and January. And even if you don't have a board, if you have parents that you trust and you think they'll be a great helper, ask them to help you do something. Ask them to order your uniforms, ask them to, help you with hotels, whatever it is, because delegating to other people makes your life a lot easier. It's really worked well for us. And also it's good to have other people's input in all your decisions. And it's just worked extremely well for us.
And to add to that about the board, I remember Al Stern from Low Country talked one time about how he had players on his board as well, because he wanted to be able to kind of feel them out and see where, I guess, get a feel for the pulse of the club. They're the ones that are on the court. They're the ones that are on the receiving end of the coaching. They're the ones that see and feel the impact of what the adults are doing. And so he had like 2 or 3 players that he invited to be on the board, just so they could kind of be the liaison between the adults and the kids.
Do we still have the sample contracts from the different clubs posted somewhere?
I've got a file that I've kept of all the contracts that I've gotten. I mean, yeah.
If not, I'd be happy to share ours if you need it.
Yeah.
I know it's probably in your.
I've got.
Well,
Yeah.
I definitely. We used to require a commitment, a club contract, but you definitely want that so that you have a clear understanding. This is how we handle concerns or complaints. This is how we handle playing time. This is how many practices you're going to get. If you get hurt, here's what your financial responsibility is or is not. Here's what we're expecting from you. Yeah.
Refund policy. Make sure you get that in
I'll
there.
send some sample contracts in the next couple of days. What else do I need to send Jimmy?
Give them the login for the club director
Login.
stuff, or all that stuff. And then the learning curve will be our membership program and our tournament entry. It's not that hard, but we have staff that'll help you get through it. So there's a membership program called Sports Engine that all the kids register through, and then you use it to make your team rosters and stuff like that.
It's becoming a little bit more user friendly. Last year was the first year that we had it, and it was terrible. Like so many man hours put into it. So I don't know if you had the same issue. Yeah.
Much better this year, though.
This
Much
year
better.
is a lot better, and I'm sure that next year will be even better. So
And
that's really
Kirsten is a really good resource for officials clinics too. She responds almost immediately to anything you have for the officiating clinics.
Courtney, I want to welcome you. I see you're on muted, and we don't see your video, but that's fine. So we
Lost
do
her.
have, yeah, huh?
Did she go?
Yeah, she popped off. So I guess I embarrassed her. We do have a staff person that handles the sports engine, any kind of registration. There she is. Must hit the wrong button. I think she said leave instead of mute. There we go. We got that, and then hey Courtney, we're just welcoming you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. We do have it recorded, so I'm going to send you the early part of it. So anyway, those things is stuff you need to do. Registration goes through AES, Advanced Event Systems. We typically open the region's registration for tournaments in Sue, help me, October timeframe? Yeah, October timeframe. We have something every weekend somewhere in the state. Of course, with the USAV membership, you can play anywhere, any organization, anywhere in the United States. So, do that. What I was going to finish with anyway, to emphasize the important parts is the finances. Make sure you get enough money up front. Make sure you get quality coaches. Make sure you get a facility that's dependable, and always looking for facilities. And then the fourth factor in that is promotion. You can have all those first three, but if you can't get kids, it's not going to help you a whole lot. I'm going to tell you my secret in growing Club South in the early years is that we started, I think, the first, if not the first, early ones, program called Kids Power that was for basically 12 and under, and we went down to about third grade. And by the time I sold it, we had nearly 800 or 900 kids in that one program. And that was actually made more money than the travel teams did. But we had our older girls train, was our coaches. We had a master coach that would train something, and then our players would go out to the different courts, and we used half courts and stuff like that. And they would practice with them, and they had a blast. And we would do similar to what Vanessa said earlier. We'd do a lot of in-house tournaments and play, but now we have Kids Power tournaments that are half days, much cheaper, and they just come in, play with modified rules and stuff like that. Julie and Sue, I'm gonna turn over you just for a minute because I'm about to run out of power, and I'm gonna get plugged in, or we're all gonna be off this thing. So go ahead.
We do something similar, obviously not to that scale. Greenwood's not the biggest city in the world, but we do, because we're Emerald City Juniors, we do the Munchkin Academy, because, Wizard of Oz. And we just had our third session, and it really has blown up. We've got a lot of people that absolutely love it. And kind of the same thing in regard to the coaching. We have a master coach, but then we bring some of the younger players in, the older players in, or even some coaches that are newer to coaching that need some experience that's not as high pressure as travel ball is. And we do the same with our outdoor as well. We're doing an outdoor series of clinics right now. And we've got some of our younger coaches coming out and working with our older players, younger coaches working with the younger players, just again, so they can get that experience. Because as I've already mentioned, growing the game, we want people to not just play it, but also expand. And so that's been pretty successful for us. And when you give players a chance to coach, it makes them better players. So at least in my experience.
And just ending on that part of it, our retention rate for our younger kids, we call it Kids Power, was 92%. So you can see, and actually one of our girls that actually started went on and made the junior national Olympic team. So she came out of Dorman, and so that's amazing to watch some of those. I'm gonna stop for a minute and see if you guys have questions, and it's no dumb questions. So if you have anything that you'd like to ask of us, and then we'll wrap it up and get you some more information as the season goes along.
Before you do that, Jimmy, I just want to add one thing. Don't be discouraged when you first start, because some other clubs who are made nameless will be not so nice and they might do some shady things. But the only thing I would say to you, and I know Julie feels the same way as me, is just do you. Whatever you stand for, whatever you decide your club philosophy is, stick with it and be sure not to play that game. Don't go back at them, because the minute you do that, you're right in there with them. And what I've also found, what's been very successful for us, is we have looked at it as, if we please the parents, we keep the kids.
Right.
Because the parents are the ones paying the bills. And I don't mean giving them everything they want, but look at it from their eyes. You know, what is their money going to pay for? And you're really trying to give them, like Jimmy said, quality coaching, communication. They deserve communication. And if you really look at it from a parent's eyes and you take it that way, and I'll tell you one thing that's super effective for us, all of our directors go out of our way to learn every child's name, every parent's name. And it's these little things that they are so impressed by, and which is amazing to me, because I'm like, as a director, I would think that's what you would do, but you'd be surprised how, I think somebody already said it, how some are just in for the money. So just decide what your philosophy is going to be, stick with it, no matter what anybody says with you. You might lose a couple people. What always happens to us, we lose someone, they come back because they realize the grass isn't greener. Then you might lose some people that they don't come back, but it doesn't matter. Like Jimmy said earlier, that if someone doesn't want to be with you, you don't want them. It just becomes a cancer and you just want to let them go in your future. I know it's your first year, but when that happens, just wish them well and just move on. Trust me. I know Julie agrees with me on that too.
Folks, any questions at all? Wait a minute, unmute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett. Hey guys, this is Ross Haskins. So we're pretty, I would say, far along in our, endeavor in starting a club. We've got our staff, or we're, continuing to get our staff, and we've started with the parent-player contract. But one thing that we are kind of interested in to know would be what are the benefits or the not benefits of being a nonprofit versus a for-profit company. And if you are nonprofit, how do you
What are the
get
proper
that
channels for that?
nonprofit status?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Sue, are you
chime
nonprofit?
in as well. That was my question as well.
We are nonprofit, but I am not our financial director. I'm the wrong person.
Okay.
I can definitely get you in touch with our financial director, who's a whiz. He is amazing. It's Sean Acton. So if you'd like to, I can give you his email address. You can ask any question. He has just done wonders for us in 15 years. So I can definitely provide your contact information, because I don't want to lead you astray. We've been a nonprofit for 17 years. That's the
Okay.
only part I know.
And I would just say this from me, in all the years, I ran mine as a sole proprietorship. Dumb, because I was in huge liability, especially with the number of people that I had under our club. I should have known better, but I never had a problem, but that doesn't mean that something would happen. And in today's society, protect yourself. If it's an LLC, profit, that's fine, or just lease something like that. But we'll get you some information. That is one of the things that's on my to-do list, is to have that as one of the questions from the directors. And I'm planning on doing that in the springtime, so that we have it out in the early summer.
Just to
And Susan
chime
can
in,
get that stuff
my
done.
club is also a nonprofit, and for me, one of the advantages is that I can give receipts to donors so that they can claim it on their taxes. I mean, that's one advantage of it, and people like that because, let's stick it to the IRS. 'Cause, I'm just kidding, but I'm really not kidding, but I should be. Anyway, but yeah, it's one nice way of being able to get people in the community involved and be mutually beneficial.
As you grow, you'll have a lot of parents that are influential in the community and businesses. So that's something that would be an advantage.
Yeah, we also had a second question to kind of
You're only
follow
limited
up.
to one, I'm sorry.
Dang,
Go ahead.
used it. We were wondering, you were talking about facilities and finding a facility that, is consistent, and how maybe are some of y'all, or how have y'all dealt with in the past, during club season, basketball season is out, like also happening as well, especially here in our area. There's a lot of youth basketball, a lot of private basketball, a lot of public school basketball and church basketball. And so I think I've probably called, I would probably say, no joking, probably like 50 or 60 different facilities that have gyms in our area. And, we currently have this many.
Wow.
And it's just, I think that more than anything going through this endeavor, I think finding gym space facility is where we are having the most trouble. We don't have anything here like an Upward Star Center. And
Very
we
few
do
do.
have a couple recreational facilities, but again, it's basketball here and basketball there. And
I'll answer me first, and Sue and Julie can chime in. In the early years, my philosophy, we had to get into rec centers, to churches, and then schools. Schools were difficult, so I started hiring school coaches that had the connection that could get us into the facility. And along with the school coaches that brought players, that helped us. Now, it may have been a little bit aggressive, but it worked in the early years. In the later years, we were able to find, and I think you guys have done the same thing, either warehouse space or something like that, and rented it. I actually found an indoor indoor tennis facility that was not making money with two people playing on the court, and decided that, I said, let us use it. So we bought sport court and made 4 courts inside of 2 tennis court facility. And it worked for us for probably the last 10 years, which was the ideal thing. But that's when you go from renting something for a season to renting something you got to rent 12 months out of the year, you got to be prepared for filling it 12 months out of the year.
exactly.
Sue and then Julie.
What we have found that works, we went to the county, and when we first started, we, got 1 facility 2 nights a week, and now we're up to 2 facilities, 2 nights a week. And then we also use a church. And once you find those ones that will work with you, we pay them a good bit upfront. Like Sean pays for our October to January practices. He pays like in full. I know it's hard to do when you're first starting up in August, but it's in the future that works. And then he pays the rest in January for the remaining. And that's one way to keep them. Now, getting them, it is hard. I'm not gonna say it's not hard. The churches, some of the churches will work with you too. And what I did, we kind of just went there and kind of pleaded our case. Like, there's all kinds of basketball. There's nowhere for volleyball. And you'd be surprised, that if you give a face-to-face meeting, I know phone calls are easier, but sometimes a face-to-face meeting, go in your shirt and just say, look, we're really trying to start something up here. We've got a ton of kids that want to play. We just don't have anywhere to go because of basketball. And that worked for us with one of the churches. And they just said, well, we don't have to have this league. And they let us in. And it's kind of like knocking on doors. But then when you get the facility, keeping them is important. Like, make sure you leave it better than you find it. And just, we offered in the beginning, we also offered to offer free clinics. If they wanted to have a volleyball clinic and they got the money, we offered our coaches for, free clinics for them, kind of bribing them. But it worked, anything to get your foot in the door. I know it's hard. Basketball is the devil.
Yeah. You are preaching the truth. That is
I'm
for
saying.
sure.
I'll add that probably in my eyes, churches are probably the first choice, because you can get those typically at a discount. And again, if you've got parents, if you've got a group of people, find out what church they go to and get them to get you in the door. That's the key. Is connections, connections, connections. Then rec centers, and then schools. And schools, you almost have to have a connection also, unless it's a private school. Julie?
I was doing pretty well using schools and churches until COVID hit. COVID caused a lot of people to close their doors. But I will say that it gave me the kick in the rear end that I needed to find something. Where we are right now is not ideal. The ceiling is low. But it really forces our players to use their ball control. We bought some sport court. It was I think 2 full basketball courts worth of sport court, but we've got 3 volleyball courts worth out of it. And it's a blessing for us because we can get in there whenever, however, as often as we need. As Jimmy mentioned, if you're going to have a facility that you pay for 12 months out of the year, then you better be able to pay for it 12 months out of the year and build that programming. We've been fortunate in that the people that we're working with have not required us to pay rent other than for the months that we use it for travel season. It's not going to be a good place for the summer anyway, because it doesn't have any like heating or air conditioning. It gets a little cold during the winter, but coaches are the ones that are in sweatshirts and sweatpants. The kids come in, warm up for 5 minutes, and they strip down to their regular. So it's not been an issue. Is it perfect? No. And do we want to find somewhere else? Yes. But in the meantime, we're counting our blessings and just grateful to have a place. So, and I actually am meeting now that COVID is kind of, knock on wood, slowed down a little bit. I have a meeting tomorrow morning with one of the former places. We rented, the housing authority has a gym, which I don't know if that's something that you have investigated. I didn't even know it until I saw a picture on Facebook of a wedding reception, and I saw volleyball court lines on the floor in one of the pictures. I was like, wait, where's that? And I did my investigative work and found the place. But and Jimmy, I think you were there with me the first time we went in there. But I'm meeting with them tomorrow and gonna get some dates on the schedule for upcoming stuff like summer camp and our Munchkin Academy for the fall and a few other things. So
I would.
Can I ask
echo
where
what-
Vanessa and Courtney, I know where Holden and Brandon are. Where's Vanessa and Courtney at?
Vanessa's in Gaffney. Courtney, where are you?
Rock Hill. I'm in York, but we'll hold practices in Rock Hill.
But Sue, my understanding is all 4 of them are moving to Columbia. I think just down the street from you.
Jimmy? I just have no words at the moment. I'm just gonna hold my words.
I will echo what Sue said. If you're going to plea for a facility, do it face to face. It's easy for somebody to say no over the phone. Get to them face to face. Maybe a little tear in your eye. Tell them a good story.
Take a
It
cute little
does work.
11-year-old with you.
Yeah, I can tell you my number 1 success was connections. If you got a parent connection, a coach connection, it worked. It just worked. So try those. And there's a lot, Augusta, there's a lot of rec centers down there. They
Mhm.
believe in nice rec centers. So maybe somebody else has got that connection down there, but get in the door.
And also, you'd be surprised, I think, I'm even surprised now that I find out every year, new parents that have connections, but they don't realize, the parents don't realize that you're looking for things. So if
Right.
you can, really put it out there, hey, we are desperate. Anybody got a church with a gym, anything that might work, they'll just pop up and say, oh yeah, I didn't know you were looking. You might get a good surprise there.
All right, other questions?
I did, Jimmy. Moving forward with the season for next year, with now boys being sanctioned
Yes.
for high school, what does that look like for Palmetto Region for tournaments? Because as of right now, all I had mainly for that schedule tentatively was mostly Tennessee and maybe 1 or 2 other tournaments in North Carolina. So I didn't really
That's-
have anything.
Yeah,
in
good
South
question. We're having a board meeting in July, but I vision there's your next growth and huge growth in boys. Now,
Now I'm starting with ages like 12 to 15, really trying to start with younger ones.
right, well,
So I noticed you still have
currently,
16,
the
18.
region does this, 12 and under is equal age co-ed. So they can play co-ed if they want to, equal age. 13s have to play 2 ages up. 14s have to be approved on a per case basis, because you all know that you've seen some 14-year-olds that can jump over a 7-foot net and hit inside the 10-foot line. So we're not.
that was
gonna
my
have a girl
son. He
first.
ruined it for everybody.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly. Julie's kid. But so I actually look at video of those and approve them on a case by case basis. So 14s maybe, but 15, 16, 17, 18s our play in boys teams. And yes, currently, we just did not have enough up until, I'm hoping this year, to have enough teams to have a division in a tournament. So we would have our tournaments, but we would just add a boys division. And I would suspect, I'm purely guessing right now, is that we probably will have to have mixed age, almost like high school, where, you know, that you've got maybe like a JV team and a varsity team. I don't know. It could explode or it may not work, but I know in high schools this year, we had about 20 teams participate. So that is the growth potential that is untouched going into the future. I'd say have that in your plan because that's the next big growth thing. Young ones, especially, if you can start them in the under 12 and play a little co-ed, you got them hooked and then you just keep growing. So anyway.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
hope to
Yeah.
have it. I just
Are
can't
you-
tell.
Holden, are you kind of asking, will the region have like a net of boys? Is that what you're asking, like at some of the region tournaments? Is that what you're
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was more or
wondering?
less. I wasn't sure because I've officiated and I've seen boys on the girls teams or a team of boys playing. They were, I think, 13 playing in the 15s
Right,
age
2
bracket
ages
or
up.
something like that. I just didn't know if there would be the younger age brackets because I've noticed 16, 18 or 16 and 18 combined. So it was
Well,
kind of
in my mind, we want to have that in the future. It just totally depends on who signs up and we'd have enough.
gotcha.
Don't
Okay.
know. Yep. All right, well, the questions. Vanessa, Courtney, got anything?
I do have a question actually. So when you were mentioning jerseys and gear, when you are sort of coming up with like the designs and everything, are those specifications like listed on the website somewhere? Or perhaps, I know in the past when I played, one of my first ever club teams, one of the refs stopped us because apparently our jersey names, like the way that it was formatted was wrong. And so
Yeah.
I just don't want to obviously make that same mistake. Is that listed somewhere?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we do. Julie will get you the answer on that, but I know our officials, that has changed and actually changed just recently, especially with the contrast between the libero and the rest of the team. So do not order your jerseys until you actually get it cleared with our officials chair,
Okay.
because you don't want to go to tournaments and you have $1,000 invested in jerseys that you can't wear.
Well,
so-
we were actually planning on doing the opposite. We were actually going to go with more of like a practice shirt material, kind of
Yeah.
something very, very simple. So
Yep.
if anything, it's almost going to be too simple,
Yeah, well, what I have seen is it's got to be a contrasting color between the libero and the rest of the team. Not like navy and a light navy. It's got to be navy and white or something like that. But anyway, he can get you a clarification on that, and Julie will assist you in getting that. And let me.
Yeah, I'll send you the rules, but just something that was handy that I was taught is if you put them into, like, change the color, take pictures and change them to black and white. If you can see the difference, then it's contrast enough. Not just contrast between libero and the regular jerseys, but also between the jersey and the numbers. So anyway.
And just to be safe, before you actually push a button to buy a jersey or tell a person to order it, is get a picture of it, what your libero is, and the rest of them are, and send it to us, and we'll get you an official approval.
Not
Let
even
me
that,
say
I'm talking
this quickly.
size-
I'm sorry,
size
Vanessa.
numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
The placement of things on jerseys.
Yes, those are in the official book, and there's a PDF on the website for that. Certain inch on the back, and a certain inch on the front. It's got to be center so far from the back, but it'll tell you all that stuff in the book, in the official's handbook.
Okay.
Let
thank
me
you.
say this about equipment while I'm thinking about it. We do have a contract with Bodden on balls and carts. We have a national contract, and we just pass along whatever the cost is. I think the balls are in the 20-something dollar range, 22 or 3, something like that. And then we also have some used balls that the region sells from time to time, and typically I offer those to new clubs initially. So I have not sent you anything on that, but we've got an inventory of used balls that not only that we've collected, but also we may only use a ball 3 times. Like 3 regionals, and then we sell them. So they're not in practices or anything. They're almost brand new. And then we also have contracts with equipment. So like J Pro, if you need standards and poles and all that stuff, if you can, like some churches would tell me, well, we don't have volleyball sleeves. So I'd say, if we buy the equipment, can you give us a deal? Get us in at trade out or something like that. So we buy equipment for them. So we got to deal with that, and we'll give you you get wholesale price on that stuff. Other questions?
I had,
I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you have something else?
Nope, all good.
Okay. Courtney, anything?
Nope, all good.
Okay. Yeah. You guys, anything else?
I had one more question,
Yep.
Jimmy. I saw on the Sports Engine thing, once I got into it, once they sent that email to me, website. Is there anything you would recommend website wise? Is it something that we want to do on our own, or would it be better to go through the Sports Engine website creator?
Do either one of y'all have the paid Sports Engine?
Yes,
You do, Sue?
we love it. Yeah.
Okay. And how much is it? Is it per head or something? What is it?
That's another Sean question, but
Okay.
I recommend the Sports Engine because it works really, really well with what the region is doing with USAV. It makes it so much easier just getting everybody on the roster and everything. So that's just me personally. We've had it now for we actually got it before they switched to Sports Engine, when we still had the other one, and it was still pretty user friendly there, but we love it. I wouldn't
And
change it.
you're
And it's
doing-
not that expensive. What's that?
Are you doing collection with them too? Is that how you're?
Yes, they
managing the
pay
money?
for our club through the Sports Engine.
Right. So that is good. At the
Mhm.
time that I was running a club, we didn't have that, and I was having to handle, a million checks.
Yeah, it is
So-
very convenient for that. But again, Holden, I can send you out. I'll probably, if you guys can maybe shoot me a quick email, I'll give you the information for my financial director, because he's awesome and he knows all
Yeah,
that.
that'd
stuff.
be great.
So if you just, mine is sue@lakemurrayvolleyball.com. So just shoot me something and I'll get you that information.
The same thing. At the time that I was doing it, I created my own website through WordPress, but today there's the Sports Engine, if it's affordable and can fit in your budget, everybody, they can pay online and you keep up with it. And I'll say this, finances may be the number one challenge for you. So if you start tryouts in the summer, man, you're just so far in front of it, because you can get the payments going before you have to pay in the October timeframe. Now you may order uniforms, but be careful on ordering uniforms in the late summer, because Sally Smith may jump ship and leave. So you just want to make sure you don't print Sally Smith's name on the back of something until you're sure that she's in the system and you got money from her.
Yeah, you may want to just include in your contract that the jersey fee is non-refundable or something along those lines, and that way they can't come back and get it.
We used to always, one thing is parents pay our membership, the USAV membership, which is $50 for a player. And then a coach is 50 plus, what's the background fee? $20?
I think it's 30 now or
Yeah,
25.
it's at least
They
25
gone
or
to
30.
every
went
year.
up.
It's $20 a year, I think.
It was
Maybe.
14 for this year for me for a renewal or
Okay.
something.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. It used to be every 2 years, but a kid is $50 unless they're young, and then it's 11 and under is what, Julie, 15? And
It's
under
15, and then 8 and under is free.
8 and under is free. So you get that, and that's still with us. So they pay that direct. So you don't have to budget that into your fees. And it is kind of makes your fees a little bit less, and they don't really think about it. But I would put the uniform separate. I'd say, here's your cost for practices and all the other coaches and tournaments and stuff like that. But your uniforms are X, but you can make 3 payments, especially if you start in the summer and do a August, September, October, something like that.
And one thing that I've done that helps, I think I've gotten a lot of appreciation from it, is there are some clubs that require you to get a new jersey or new uniforms every year, and that's fine, to each his own. For me, we use ours, we get high quality, like the sublimated jerseys, but we keep them for a few years, and that way players don't have to pay that fee every year. And with
Right.
our demographic, we can't really overcharge here. And you just have to be careful on your end to make sure that you don't overlap numbers with the same age group. So you might have some weird numbers like an 85 or whatever, but it works out in the long run because, you know, they might be on 2 separate teams this year, but next year they might be on the same team, and you don't want anybody to have to order a new jersey just because they have the same number as somebody else. So just something to think about for saving people money.
And we did the same thing. All right, folks.
We do
go
For
ahead.
uniforms, real quick, we kind of the same way, except we used to pay for the one uniform shop from, we went away from that, and now they pay for their own, but we don't put their names on it. And every year they can buy their jersey again. It's okay to have the same number because they keep them. I think everybody does it different. They can keep them so that year after year, if they want to buy a new one, so they have like 2 red or 2 black or 2 white or whatever it is, they'll have them. But if they don't, if they just don't want to buy it at all, they already have some. So that's an advantage also for the returners.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys will have more questions. And like I said, on our plans and goals is we're going to have some short video sharing best practices is what we're going to call it, from different directors on different subjects that you'll get a lot of information on. But I would encourage you to, if you haven't already, consider tryouts early and get things started and going. So we're here, all of us. We've got a board. If you look on our website, it says contact us. It tells you all of our staff and what they're responsible for. So contact any of those at any time, and feel free to contact me with anything. We'll hold your hand for the first couple of years, so you'll be fine. Anything else? Guys, have a good evening, and we will talk soon. Sue and Julie, thanks so much.
You're welcome. And like I said, if you have financial questions, email me and I'll get you in touch with my financial director.
Good.
I'll send that email in the next day.
Oh, Sue, contact me about facility
Yes.
later. All right. See you guys.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank y'all.